not a political gathering. Welcome. It really warms my heart to see you all in such great numbers. I have goosebumps right now talking to you, especially that today is a milestone edition, and seeing how packed this place is, this wonderful building is, this wonderful venue is, I cannot just feel grateful. So I'm Adela Jamal Masafir, your host, your moderator for HR Cafe, the founder of HR Cafe and Talent Lab. Talent Lab was my first baby. Of course, you know, I've got my two sort of human babies also, plus the husband who's the third one. Yeah. But Talent Lab was my baby HR management company that was set up 10 years ago as well. People figure 10 today is going to be quite prominent. So HR Cafe was formed in July, Talent Lab was formed in July 2014. And 3 years ago, HR Cafe was born. Why did we do HR Cafe back then? I think this being a milestone edition, it's important that I just tell the newcomers here, quite a number of you, about our story. So we started 3 years ago. Soon after COVID, we felt that the number of inquiries that we were getting online, by phone, at Talent Lab, with regards to, HR matters, there was a lot of redundancies back then, if you remember. People were changing jobs, we had the Great Resignation, labour law, complications, etc. were coming up. And we said to ourselves, well, why do we not create a platform where every month we have sort of like a walk-in coffee session with people? And back in the days, we had signed up with a very well-known coffee shop in Bagatelle, and they had agreed to give us preferential rates on their coffee, etc., and said, well, you can come as long as it's off-peak. So we chosen Tuesday mornings to have our HR Cafe. It wasn't yet HR Cafe, so our coffee meetup. But then, after COVID, we realized, well, we can't go to eat in restaurants. Remember those days when restaurants were closed and you could only sort of go to work and come back home? So it didn't happen. But we launched anyway. And we launched the MPC team. We let, of course, create a little bit of a buzz to see, well, we're introducing this meetup. It was in our boardroom in our then office in Leiden. And when we did the first launch, we were amazed. There were 40 people in the boardroom, starting on what? NBC came, and one of the Nespresso ladies who's here serving you today, Cindy, actually saw it in the news, and she said, well, she contacted me. I know I was hard to get to, like most of you know already, and tried to message me or call me. Marie-France is nodding very fiercely there, and I see Arvin as well, yes. My apologies for that. I'm working on it, yes. So Cindy called me and said, listen, we want to work with you guys. You guys are amazing. Please, let's chat. So this is how HR Cafe was born. We could not have a cafe experience, a meetup without coffee. Coffee keeps us going, isn't it? Or tea for some of you who are not coffee drinkers. So HR Cafe was born. We've been 10 editions now. This is our 10th edition. We've visited quite a number of venues. Just to give you HR Cafe numbers, we've impacted the path of more than 1,000 professionals since 2021. I think that requires a lot of experience. And with these 1,000 professionals whom we've touched, well, we've also enhanced their coffee experience, serving more than 1,500 coffee cups, if not more. We have 38,000 followers on social media, 10 editions now, covering pertinent and timely topics around people and organizations, and some 50 experts in their field have supported us. We've traveled to 7 venues, just to name a few. I can see Dominique Arlanda is here from Middlesex University. Please stand up, Dominique. Thank you. From Maurice Education as well, talking of We've been to Maison Sacha, we've been to Rogers Capital. I can also see some of my panelists here. Charles, you were at Maison Sacha with us, were you? Yeah, Maison Sacha, and you also spoke. After sex, yes, please stand up and just do your thing. So, very, very grateful today. But as we turn towards the future, it's our last session for this year as well, but as we turn to the future, I must tell you that we're a bit in reflective mode. What do we do? How do we take HR Cafe to the next level? So we will be taking November, December, January to reflect, think, and develop some form of strategy. Please, our followers, just keep in touch, watch the space. You will see some changes happening, but all for the good, that I can assure you. It's going to be fabulous, fantastic, and even more impactful. And in the meantime, we will continue to bring together this fantastic platform where people socialize, inspire, and evolve. That's our tagline for HR Cafe. So without further ado, I'd like to kickstart. I think you're all here to listen to the panelists and not to me. The theme for today, legacy leaders versus digital warriors, navigating the intergenerational divide. Why we've come up with this theme, those of you who've been in our past editions, can I just make a little confidence, a confession? I have been listening to your ranting about the new generations. In all the question and answer sessions, it's come up very, very fiercely that, we are having trouble coping with the new generation. We don't know what triggers them, what pushes them to do the things they do, good and bad. And last year we had an attempt at it through the Gen Z session, and we thought, well, I think it's high time just to cut all the sort of préjugés, all the different misunderstandings, misconceptions, and working with the Back City, he said, well, this is going to be the theme. I was reading in preparation for this session, I was reading Harvard Business Review article yesterday night. It was released in April 24. And one of the things the author of the article said is that you will not realize it, but this is the first time in history that we have not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, but 6 generations working in the workplace, operating in the workplace. When you consider the octogenarians, those in their 80s, who are at the leadership role in global organizations, like it or not, they're impacting the workforce through their leadership. And then on the other side of the range, you have the younger generations, the alpha generations. My son is 17, I would consider him an alpha generation, who over summer school, over holidays, they're going in internships, they're doing part-time jobs. So in between them, you have us, the great generation, who's Gen X. Yeah, the legendary ones, yeah? Don't be shy, come on. Yeah, so the many Gen X's, you have the baby boomers, the Generation Y, the millennials, the Gen Zs. So we're all trying to get a sense of it all. And this person in the Harvard Business Review article said, well, it's a matter of understanding each generation being a culture on its own. Each generation has a way of doing things that we cannot ignore. And if we want to develop an employer brand that is mighty strong, then it's in our interest to develop a 6-gen HR strategy. What a matrix, huh? It's complicated. Already with 2 or 3 generations, it's not easy, but for large organizations and those with family businesses spanning over the octogenarians, I mean, use on it. Okay, so hence the topic, legacy leaders versus digital warriors. And I'm very humbled that we have an interesting panel, both of the Gen Zs. Trust me, it wasn't too easy to convince the Gen Zs to be on the panel, but we did it, and they're here, and listening to some of the feedback we received once in our HR Cafe, where you said, well, we're talking of Gen Zs, we're talking of new generations, so bring them on the panel. We want to talk to them, we want to question them. So here you go, they're here, over to you to actually question and get a sense of what they want in the workplace. Okay, so without further ado, let me invite my panelists on the floor here with me. And first to join me is someone who smiles very cheaply every time I tell her that tu es notre Greta Thunberg locale, which actually she is, because she's been at the forefront manifesting and doing strikes on environmental protection, sustainability, leaving a legacy for future generations, of which she's part of. And she's very fervent in whatever she does, following through in a very aligned way in terms of her profession, her way of life, and her beliefs and value system. Put your hands together, please, to welcome Victoria Debo with but solid voice. A digital tech, you know, those very sort of cool new professions coming up, which absolutely have to anyway with digitalization. So she's a digital tech, fintech expert, but she's also the European Union focal point for Mauritius and Seychelles, recognized as one of the future fintech champions in 2023. And this year, her work in youth empowerment won her the Best Youth in Mauritius at the National Youth Awards. She's also actively involved with JCI, Rotary clubs, won several awards there too. Ladies and gentlemen, here is another Gen Z for you, Chesta Gova. Welcome to our brave digital warriors. Okay, over to the legacy leaders. Yes. Let's move to them. Someone I have learned a lot from. Someone that I've listened to growing up as a professional in the HR field. Someone who still inspires me through his LinkedIn posts, and a respected leader in HR strategy, who now coaches and advises business leaders and executives. He shapes the leadership function, like it or not. He's a monument when it comes to HR. Humbled and honored, Mr. Elie Jolicoeur, to invite you to the panel.
This is all very theatrical.
We try our best. Thank you. Now, a lady who juggles between generations in her daily work, influencing and aligning the multi-generational company she works for, Okorion. Neither a legacy leader nor a digital warrior, she comfortably sits in between the two generations, and she tries to make this balancing act work. Please join your hands to welcome Camille Moutian, HR leader. Last but not least, a chartered accountant in training, but the group CEO of a major property company on the island. As a legacy leader, he navigates the generational divide in his role, yet serves as a bridge. We're here today because he said yes, let those HR Cafe people in. They're fine, they look good, let them come in. And we're grateful, we did actually. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Danny Fonsi, CEO of One Exchange Square. Thank you so much, Danny. It's an honor. Please. Right. So let's just have a Kodak moment with our espresso cups. I think I've got mine here. Let me take this one for some diversity. Yes, Victoria says it's reusable, so good. I'm glad I didn't take the paper cup out. Good. Thank you, gentlemen. Please take a seat. Before starting, I'd like to ask une chenille ouvrière dernière HR Café de cette session, une des deux. Je vais vous parler de la seconde partie de cette session, mais elle a été celle qui a aussi rendu possible HR Café dans ce magnifique lieu, et she really went out of her way. Please, Jennifer Shaw, please come with me here and listen.
Daniela. Thanks everyone for being here. So I'm going to be short. I promise to review my little speech, so I'm cut 1,000 words out of it, just to learn. So once again, good morning and welcome to all of you to this 10th edition of HR Cafe. So as Daniela said, I'm Jennifer and I look after the marketing and communications for Max City Group. And on behalf of our CEOs, who's here, Danny and Lewis, we wish you a warm welcome again. So we're thrilled to host all of you at One Exchange Square, our flagship building, where innovation, sustainability and community come together. With over 40 years of experience, Max City began as a family business with one core belief: creating better life experiences through better places. And we couldn't represent it better than today, since all of you with us here. We are also very proud to be one of the sponsors today for this 10th edition. And to all of you here, I have to say I'm very surprised on a Saturday morning to see so many happy faces who missed their diving sessions, or their morning coffee, or just Kaspares Ramatagone. So I think you love debate more than your coffee, and for some, your spouse. So thank you for coming. So today's topic, the digital warriors versus the legacy leaders, navigating this generational divide, is not just about trends, but how different mindsets, traditional and digital, can complement each other and shape the future of business. And of course, who better to guide us than Adila herself? So thank you for creating Talent for Talent Lab, who are the founder, and for this beautiful event, HR Cafe. So thank you to our panelists, all of you, for being here with us. Be ready for the challenging questions that's going to come your way very soon. I saw a lot who has already prepared a long list, so don't hesitate. You can send your questions. So welcome again and enjoy this session. And thank you for Nespresso for being with us today and for the marvelous coffee that we are enjoying since this morning to keep us awake. And just to add on, after the session, on top and above of coffee, we'll also have a little finger buffet that's going to be sponsored by Artisan Coffee and Bento Sushi. So I hope you're all lovers of sushis and some more pastries. Thank you very much and enjoy the session.
Thank you so much, Jennifer, for this warm welcome. I'll place this mic here, and I think I deserve my right to sit down as well. Yep, I hope it's switched off, sir. Yes. So here we are, ready to roll. So what is going to happen for the newbies here today? Over the next 45 minutes, starting now, we will be having a short panelist discussion. And after that, there'll be an hour of question and answer time. Let's get your questions ready, your observations ready, but just a note that we will only be taking questions first, and if we have extra time later, then the observations would be most welcome. We have also put a basket at the front when you registered for those too shy to ask questions. I'm sure there isn't any, but just in case, if ever you want to go back and just jot down your question with pleasure, by all means, please do so. So, turning to my great panel here, how are you feeling? Everyone okay? Yep. Can I shoot the first question? Come easy. Yes.
Nice and on top.
On top. Okay, super. So I'll shoot my first question to you, Eddie. Eddie, of course, Eddie, it has to be you. Yeah. You have a rich career. You were there in the 1970s in the world of work. You've seen the evolution of the workplace. You've seen various generations in their the highlight of their time. You've seen them operate. You've been one of them. You have impacted large organizations, and now you're working across the board in the the working industry. tell us in what way is this current divide between generations any different? Is it something that has always been there as it is today, avec force pure, or is it really different this time?
I think it's been there all the time. I mean, I was doing some reading the other day, and I came across a quote from Socrates, the Greek philosopher of that time. And he was talking about the generation gap already. If I come to my case and my experience, when I was like an emerging baby boomer, rebellious one in the 70s, there was already quite a gap and quite interesting perceptions about the emerging generation in the 70s. The similar ones, but without the technological input. So I don't think there's any difference in perception of the new generation or the new generations. It's just that there are elements now in the equation, like technology, like digitalization, and fast communication, that maybe has enhanced the what you call divide. I don't like the word. I mean, even in your title, when you talk about legacy leaders versus digital warriors, I'm not very comfortable about the versus.
Good. It was done on purpose.
Yeah, okay.
To agitate
I don't think we need.
crowd.
Yeah, I don't
Yes.
think we need. I mean, yes.
Yes.
I don't think we need to be versus another. It's all about agile integration. Can I tell you a story?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yes. Very concise though, just so that everybody can talk.
Legacy leaders tend to be a bit long. That's our construct.
Yeah.
But I'll be short to adapt. Yes.
With all due respect.
It's just to tell you how sometimes it comes home to you that you are confronted with a generational issue. This TV shows that, talent shows where people come up they sing, they perform magic tricks and so on, and then you have three crosses. You have like buzzing three crosses if you are eliminated or you are accepted. You know that? Yeah. Well, I got three crosses one day. But whilst talking to a new recruit, somebody I recruited myself, he presented himself, and his CV was perfect. And when he came in person, he was a he, and he had hair like falling on his shoulders in the 90s. And I said to him, perfect, I'm very willing to hire you, but could you do something like that? And he looked at me, he said, yes, I will. And then when comes the time of asking the candidate whether he or she has questions for us, in HR, we normally do that. Do you have any questions for us? And you expect that they wouldn't have it. But he did. And he said to me, would you employ women in my position? And I said, yes, of course. He said, great, that's the kind of company I want to work for. And then he said, what disturbs you about my hair? So I said, well, it's security policy. Okay. And I got my kind of second cross. And he said, okay, so then I will certainly do something about it. So he presented himself for his first day. He walked in my office and he did something about it. He had a ponytail. And then I said, okay, I won't win at that game. So I have to take a step back and see how I can really, in terms of mindset, integrate, because they won't change. And we should not expect them to change. We really need to be agile, and we need to be into empowering leadership from my point of view.
That's beautiful.
So,
thank you. No, not at all, Eddie. I think what you say is very, very pertinent. They're not going to change. And like it or not, as difficult as it may sound, we are the ones who are staying. We are the ones who soon will be leaving. So thank you for this reminder. I'd like to turn to you, Danny. You're the CEO of Maxity Group. Let's say things as they are. It's a family-owned business. And you are now the group CEO, having taken over from les aînés, the previous generations. How did the values that the previous generations have instilled within the group influenced you today in becoming the leader that you are?
Okay, first of all, I would like to thank HR Cafe for having chosen our building to host your 10th edition.
Yes.
And I would also like to thank the Maxity team who worked till late last night to do this setup. Thank you, I'm very proud of you. Just to give maybe a bit of context to your questions, yes, Maxity is a family business. It was started by my dad, Maxime, at the tender age of 59. He was 59, I was 26, and when I came back, I was in 1994, and it has been an incredible journey from 1994 till today, as we built up Maxity to what it is today. To answer your question, I would say that the values that he inculcated in me was, first of all, his generation. I think most people in that generation, they were very preoccupied by, first and foremost, financial security. And instead they worked very hard, 6 days a week, to achieve that financial security. They were very careful in their spending. Whatever surplus money they had, they saved or they reinvested in the business. So it created like a virtuous loop, which it's like a golden age which grew with momentum. So I think my dad instilled that in me at the beginning. I would also say he was risk averse in some ways, and I think I inherited that from him as well. As you mentioned, I trained as a chartered accountant, and as you know, accountants are trained to be risk averse, and so that's ingrained in me. But having said that, my dad, he was bold enough to, when opportunity knocked, to seize the opportunity. And this is what happened. At the age of 59, he saw there was a possibility to do something in the property business, and despite his age, he seized it with two hands. And so these like defining moments in life, when you find yourself an opportunity, just go and grab it with two hands. So there you go. These, I would say, would be the qualities that I inherited from my dad.
Wow, that's beautiful. And you also remind me of, when you do readings about the difference in generations, it is said that the baby boomers are the ones who actually are very much driven into financial security and pérennité, la pérennité de la famille, de whatever they're doing, leaving a legacy behind. And for that, they haven't been shy at sort of pushing themselves forward every single day, getting the work done and saying yes to the boss all the time because they needed to work to create financial stability and the future. So I can see here the influence of that trend being in here. And now you're here, Danny. It's you, the big boss of the Maxity Group. And what strategies are you putting in place to bridge this generational gap? Maybe if you can share an example with us.
Well, first, I would say when Jennifer approached me to be on this panel, and I also was the title, like he was saying, digital is this legacy leaders. I said, where do I fit in? I don't feel like a legacy leader. And in fact, I said to Jennifer, I am a legacy leader, maybe in age, but not in spirit. And
More of you.
yeah, and I completely agree with Eddie. That word or letters versus bothers me in the sense that I don't see it that way. It doesn't have to be digital or it's fundamental and legacy leaders. On the other hand, it's I think the perfect approach would be a blend, a combination of these things. You do need both the dynamism of younger people as well as equally important the experience that legacy leaders may have. And in my case, I've been on both sides of the fence in the sense that when I started off 1994 when I came back, when I launched Maxi. So I was the young one, and he was 59 years old with all his set habits, ways of conducting business. But thankfully, it worked quite well in the sense that he left school early. He only did primary school. I didn't do secondary or tertiary education, and obviously, like many parents, they put a lot of emphasis on their children to be educated, well educated. And I think he was quite proud that I did the chartered accountancy course and become a chartered accountant and become a financial expert in a way. So when we launched Maxi, I was more looking at the finances, the figures, etc. And he was more looking at the business, dealing with people, dealing with customers, dealing with consultants, contractors, etc. So it was a very good partnership. And the fact that he trusted me on the financial side, on the figures side, we were quite complementary. And on his side, he with 20, 30 years of experience already, he obviously was, maybe the word is a bit strong, he was a control freak in the sense that he wanted to control everything, to have, to know what's happening, etc. At the beginning, it didn't affect me, but where it started to show was in later years when we gradually improved the business, and I was no longer looking only at the financial side, but the general management side. I can sense some frustration in the sense that I wasn't as rigorous as him in terms of control, etc. But I was more focused on the main issues and the smaller issues I tended to not prioritize them. But he didn't see that way. For him,
These matter too.
these mattered to me. As an accountant, I was going to look at materiality and how significant it is, and to focus on the big things and not the minor details. But he was retiring, so he made his observations, he made his comments, but nothing from that. So I'm quite lucky in a way, but I didn't have that what you call a generational clash. In my time when I was working with him. Now fast forward to the present, I'm the CEO. We have a very small team, we're only 70, and only 20% of the team is below 30. Right? So again, lucky enough not to have these generational issues in our company.
Before who do it? What's the secret? Can I ask? Because for me, 20% at times could feel like 80%.
Well, I think it depends
How
on what sectors you are. I mean, in the property business, it's a very capital-intensive business, and so the ratio, I mean, in terms of resources, obviously, majority is financial capital drives the business, and the human element is, in terms of the numbers, it's much less, but that doesn't diminish, of course, the importance of people in driving the business forward. But I mean, the people I work with more closely, my two CEOs, one of which is here today, they're slightly older than me, so I don't have a generational gap. Not at all. And I also have a small. You want to comment? And a small administrative team that work with me. In fact, there's a big HR, 10, 20 years old. But it works very well. I think I understand the concern and the my concern, so in that way I think it goes very well. So far.
Mutual respect, understanding, active listening, and compassion.
Yes, yes. And as I say, I have small teams. Obviously, a smaller team is much easier to manage than employees. Yeah.
I mean, it depends. You can have small team and small team, but I think you're blessed there. Yes. Okay, thank you so much, Danny. We'll come back to you again later. Let me turn to the Gen Zs. As you can see, we've placed them at the center because, of course, we're here for you, ladies, and for all the Gen Zs here as well. Chester, can I start with you? I asked for permission, you see. You're the EU focal point for the youth and a very active person socially. I don't know how you can get all that you've done in 24 hours. You constantly mingle with the younger generation, both in the various social groups that you are, but also in the fintech world. You're also a student. Tell us about the values, expectations, and beliefs of the emerging workforce of which you're part.
Thank you, Adina. Firstly, I would like to thank I'm very humbled to be among ADC leaders today. And so it's a lot of pressure on me right now as Gen Z.
Really? You look so calm and confident. Don't feel the pressure. We are fine. We're cool dudes too.
So, you know, the very basics when we see generations differences. And why is it that Gen Z is today seen as the generation who are disruptive, as I saw in many comments? And honestly, I did not know it was so negative until the day I went on social media. I thought we were doing great things. But then, when I saw that it doesn't look what I used to see, then it came to a point of reflection. Well, what is going right now? So the first thing is that we are the first generation who have actually learned in internet. Like from 1995 to 2012 is the Gen Z generation. And 1995 to 1997 was the year actually that internet was commercialized. So you can understand that we never knew a world without the internet. There came social media, there came every other changes with technology. So the very basics of it is that we have always known how to speak whatever we want, and whether it's on social media, Facebook, Instagram, every single place. And we have that hot blood, as I may call it, like, dynamism, and also the risk-taking ability, which has not existed so much in the previous generations, and rightfully so, because today we have many opportunities which are presented to us. The very examples, the high rate of employee turnover when it comes to Gen Z, they are changing jobs. I think HR people will be more apt with this. They are changing jobs just at a click. Well, why is it so? Because they have opportunities in their hands. And this is where it comes that we are very different from the previous generations. And our expectation, when we write in the email that I would like to contribute to your organization, the very basics of it is that inclusion isn't just a buzzword. It's actually what we really see. Even by just hearing us out, what we have to contribute to your organization in terms of, as we call, digital warriors or digital natives. This is what I believe that Gen Z wants. They want to have their work, they want to work for purpose, for passion, not only just the monotonous, everyday 9 to 5, as work-life balance itself. We don't see work-life balance, we rather see work-life blend. How do we integrate it into our daily lives and not be stuck in the burnout? Today we talk about mental health, of so many issues that decades ago, no one would even, if you have depression, it's normal because you're going to work. And today it has become like a matter debates at many tables. So on that aspect, and also what I tend to differ also is about the versus. When we say leaders leaders versus digital warriors, I really don't like to see it generations comparing to generations. I would rather say, instead of the vertical comparison, let's look at the horizontal comparison within generations. Because I do not differ that within Gen Z there exists a little part of the laid back as well. But there are change makers. There are people who are at the forefront of efforts. There are people who are driving innovation today and are really creating impact. That's about a bit how Gen Z sees the world.
Thank you so much for this very impactful gesta. If I'm going to ask you, how do we bridge the gap between the generations? What is the first thing you would ask the older ones to do? Can I ask you this?
Okay. So the first thing is about hearing us out. What do we have to bring to the table other than just, let's say, a job description says X, Y, Z. But what we also see is the flexibility, not the difference of work flexibility, but the change in between jobs itself. Sometimes, my very example at my previous internship, I'm a finance student, and I was to do a securities reconciliation, which is about implementing a process. Well, I have no knowledge about that. How do I make it happen? Technology was there for me. So I went on YouTube, ChatGPT, everything, and I did get the job done in like 3 weeks. And then my line manager was like, "How did you get this done? It was a challenge, and you were going to say no to it." And I said, "But there's technology." And as I had to be a trading intern, and I came to be an operations and trading intern. So I was lucky enough to have a company where they really blended this aspect of me saying this, and I was given this opportunity. And like this, I believe that there are many other people who would be happy to have this kind of opportunity. And also, the corporate ladder, as we have seen it every time. I don't believe that Gen Z still want to get to the corporate ladder in the same way. We see work in a different way as well. Just like myself, I am an aspiring entrepreneur. It's not particularly that I will stay in the workforce for a long, let's say, duration. It's because we want the experience and we want to be change makers. We want to drive change and we want to create other impacts. So for organizations, it will be particularly the flexibility to understand what is it that the young people is seeking out of this endeavor, because what drives us is passion, is purpose, is meaningful work. Today, when we're saying going to work, we even look at the company fosters sustainability. We speak of SDGs, we speak of diversity, we speak of digital innovation. Is the company actually driving digital innovation, driving change in the evolution in technology? So it is in that arena that we really seek things to happen, and if it's not, then we tend to, we have now, how to say, that comfort to change organizations as well, which is not very good as well. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I'll have to, you'll come back to this. And you know why I just had to stop you? I can see Victoria getting very edgy and agitated there, and if I don't let her speak, I think she's going to take the mic anyway. But just before moving on to Victoria, I think from what you said a lot of interesting things, Chester. But you spoke about the corporate ladder and the Gen Zs wanting to do things differently. So my key takeaway, I'm sure there's a lot of other sort of gems that you've thrown out there, but my key takeaway is that the corporate ladder, if we want to adjust to the Gen Zs, doesn't need to be linear anymore. Linear, as in a straight line upwards. There's different other ways of forming that corporate ladder that would be more suitable and adaptable and agile for the Gen Zs to welcome the new trends on the labour market. Yeah. Okay, so Victoria, now's your time. So we were just talking about entrepreneurship, SDGs, sustainability, your fervent advocates of sustainable development, circular economy and environmental protection. You have chosen to be a free bird, so here we are, an entrepreneur in the room. You've chosen to be a free bird, and more emerging young professionals are taking this trend, like Chester just said. Tell us about this, and how does it link to the value system of the younger generation, coming from the space that you are in?
First of all, thank you for the invitation. I almost said no, because I was like, who am I to talk on behalf of an old generation? That sounds like quite a question. I was like, I don't think I'm the right person. Even more when I'm really on the border of Gen X and the millennials. So I was like, oh, I'm not sure as that.
But then why?
It's not Gen.
Yes, borderline, yes.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, I'm not sure I'm the right person. But I think it's a very interesting conversation to have, and I really enjoy what everyone has shared, because I think it's really about this meeting point. So maybe I'm going to share first my story and how I came to do what I'm doing, to then share about my peers and maybe why we do it this way. So I think since high school, I really looked at the world, and what was really driving me was like, how can we do it better? And I say that with a lot of love and a lot of faith in humanity. I really think we can do better. Like looking at all the environmental crises, the social crisis, I was like, I know that we can do better. And that's what really drives me. So I am involved as a citizen. So as you say, I've done my Fridays for Future in Mauritius with an amazing group of young people for a year. We have manifested like Greta Thunberg in Mauritius for like a year in 2019. I've also taken care of a citizen initiative with Zero Waste Mauritius for 6 years now, where we do where we spread information with education, and we also bridge the communication gap between citizen and enterprise and government about circular economy. So I do all that as a citizen, but for me it was really important that my work as well were aligned with my value. And I think we live in a very interesting time. So researchers say that we live now in a time of polycrisis. What it means is that there's many different crises globally. As I say, it can be environmental crisis, social crisis, wars, financial crash, and we live in a world that is so connected that these crises merge, and in the emergence, they create even more crises. So we live in this very particular time. If we just look at it from an environmental perspective, because that's where I come from, we have biodiversity that is plummeting. We are losing species every day. We talk about the climate crisis. We talk about resources. So I don't know if you know about the, we live on credit now in terms of resources. We've finished all the resources that we could renew for the year. So there's all this issue, and then there's pollution of air, water, soil. So we are living this very interesting time. When I go on social media, I can see an advertising for shampoo, followed by war picture, followed by environmental destruction. So it's like very particular. And as you were sharing, we live in an information era. So since we are young, we live connected to this information. So I think it has been really questioning work and questioning the place of work in our life because of all this context. When you see all that, how can you not question it? And I think that it's really about, okay, if I'm going to spend so many hours at work, it needs to be meaningful. It needs to be aligned with my value. It needs to be something that I want to contribute. Like, how can I make a contribution to society to make it better, to really create this future I want to go toward? And yeah, we can do it as citizens, but some of us choose and really want to also do it in our work. And then I think there's more and more work flexibility and different kind of work, so like remote work, entrepreneur, and that I think it really depends on who we are. Like, I don't think it's all our generation that wants that. Maybe some people also want a more traditional form of work. I think it's really about realizing that we are all different, we have all different needs, we have all different wants, and for me, entrepreneurship was what really makes me thrive. But I think it really depends on each person. And last thing I want to add, I think it's really, once again, this value. So how do the work align with the value in terms of what we want to contribute to the world, but also in our personal life. So maybe our value is spending more time with family, or freedom of place, freedom of time, not being stressed, taking care of our health. So instead of like fitting our life into our work schedule, I think we are looking at really a form of work that fits our lifestyle and our view and our values. And really, I think we all want to contribute, but because of everything going on, we are really questioning the future and also the future of work and how it fits in our life. And I don't think that's bad, because as I say, we live in a time of crisis, and crises are opportunity for change. So even in terms of work, it's like, how can we do better? How can we create something that works for everyone?
Thank you for this, Victoria. The word flexibility and work with value came across very strongly. So I think it's challenging the status quo that I get from you, and I think the challenge is not really on you, the Gen Zs, but more on the previous generations, on adaptability and being agile and putting things forward. Talking of which, we have the lady here, the maestro, who tries to balance things out so that different generations in her workplace actually get that sense of purpose, get the job done, just to
I
say.
really feel like a little child. When I say the pre-retirement, I don't. I really feel that way, guys.
Sorry, we didn't mean it, but you've just listened to everyone on the panel, and I wanted to ask you, well, all this is great insights that we're getting, but on the ground, what are the challenges that we're facing in this balancing act, as I like to call it?
Thank you, Adela, for allowing me to be part of the panelists today. Let me start with a small icebreaker. Let me tell all the Gen Zs that I could hear your voices inside of you saying I should wear trainers with this dress. But the whole point of being a millennial is to defy that and wear something else. So I know all of you judge me there. That's my usual day at work, actually. Because people are like, what are you really wearing? Is it Gen Z? Is it millennial? What are you trying to do? So I think I'll start by saying, as millennials, we were, I think around 10 years ago, my dad was saying, and I'll quote in Creole here, saying, Haban génération comment toi allez commencer malade la tête. And now, 10 years later, I'm hearing it for Gen Zs, and I'm like, oh my God, the focus is off us. Thank you, Gen Zs. But it's on a daily basis as someone who works in HR, who is daily challenged by Gen Z, and I have one who's sitting over there who's trying to hide, but she's waiting now over there. She challenges me every single day that she comes to work. And that's why I always ask her, when are you working from home? So that she stops challenging me. So I think the first challenge I've had recently that I can connect to is about hybrid working. Again, Gen Zs don't hate me, I believe in flexibility. However, when I started, everyone, when I started in the company, I was told that everyone is allowed to have hybrid working. And me as a millennial, I was like, what about culture? How do you build culture if you're not in office? How can you straight away start working from home? So then, that's probably the point that made my Gen Z hate me most. I said, let's change the rules. So everyone's going to work from office during the first 3 months of their probation, and afterwards they go back to hybrid. I tell you, the pushbacks that I had, I was judged. But then I met people during a new joiners lunch, and they said, thank you, Kamini. I think that was a good thing, because at least I got to know my colleagues, I got to know the office infrastructure, and at least I know where I belong. And I think that's more and more something that we're seeing within this. I wouldn't call it generation. I would rather not tag people in boxes, although I just did it with Kujali there. But yes, I do think that we are trying to bridge the gap as millennials. It's tough, but what I find that works is reverse mentorship. So reverse mentorship is to be able to collaborate with the Gen Zs, hear them, because at the end of the day, everyone's been talking the same thing around here, communication. I think everyone wants to have the right communication, to be able to get the right feedback, while no offense here, Eddie, but I know during my dad's time, if you're having feedback, it means that you're doing something wrong. And now what we're doing, am I right? So now I think we've changed that. The Gen Z do not want to wait for mid-year appraisal, year-end appraisal to get feedback. They want to have feedback all the time. And although they know what they're doing wrong, they still want to be told that you shouldn't be doing that. They enjoy that kind of, address the topic. Because another thing that comes to my mind here, and that's probably most of you managing teams, when I started to work, having a day sick, so sick leave, was totally judged. Oh my God, she's sick. Or she's on sick leave. But now, in this new corporate world, if someone wakes up and has a headache on a Monday and doesn't come to work, well, you're not allowed to judge because they're entitled to their sick leaves. So that's how generations have changed now, in a way where we should be judging. I think there are a lot of stereotypes. So each generation believes that they brought in the correct way of working. But I think we need to take a bit from everyone, and especially to the Gen Z. I love the challenge that I get with them, because if we didn't have them, we wouldn't be challenged, and we would still believe laying out authority, having discipline, and not fully getting feedback and collaboration. It wouldn't be the highlights, I would say. So the challenge is real, Attila, on a daily basis. However, I don't think it's only a generation thing. I think post-COVID, there's been an acceleration, like me and Eddie were discussing just before, that accelerated a lot of things that probably 10 years ago we never thought of. Like, one day the Prime Minister said that COVID is coming and everything's locked down, and I thought this was my J3 card of me working from home, but then I realized I was actually getting into a J. And moving from my kitchen to the bedroom to the living room, for me, it wasn't the best experience. I really enjoy collaborating, seeing people on a daily basis. Yes, this is very millennial, and I know a lot of people say, yes, but we don't really need to see each other. I still believe that face to face, and we're proving it now. Like, we could have done it online, but I think like having everyone here, it just changes everything. The way we feel and the way we discuss as well. So that's a bit what I wanted to share.
Thank you so much, Camille. I don't know if while I just zoomed out, you had spoken about recruitment. You haven't?
No.
Good.
That's please.
Yes, thank you. So we all know there's a recruitment crisis on the island, and here it's not just related to Gen Zs, but it is a fact that our Gen Zs do not respond to vacancy adverts the same way. Their value system, like you said, is different. Like the ladies here have said, and our legacy leaders have said it as well, are different. How are you navigating this, and can you give maybe one sort of key sort of action point that you would encourage HR practitioners in the room here to embrace, or business owners in general, to attract the Gen Zs? What's been working for you?
Okay, what's not working is Gen Z is not turning up to interviews. This is not working.
Sounds familiar, yeah?
This doesn't work because at the end of the day, I don't want to tag them as Gen Zs, but I think people who don't turn up to interviews, it's just a sign of disrespect because we live on an island and we will meet each other again. So I think we have to be very careful. It's a fine line here about being called for an interview and then deciding on that they're not going to come. So let's be wary of that. What actually works is the new generation, at least the generation we're recruiting, and that's a mix. This could be Gen Z, Millennials, Gen X. It's more about what are you going to give me instead of what am I willing to do for you. It's not about the person who we're recruiting their skills, it's more about you as a company, you as an employer, what are you going to give to us? And this really stresses the labour market out in a way that we become very competitive, so everyone wants to have higher salary, higher benefits, but how much higher can we go? You know, how much higher can we go? And honestly, more and more the generation is not about benefits, because medical insurance now is just something that they are entitled to and they take for granted. And I didn't used to have that when I started as well. Probably 80 as well, I don't know. So these things didn't used to exist, and for us it's still benefits. So I think as someone who looks for talent in the market, we're always having to prove that we're humans, we're employers that will listen to you, and you will have a career progression. Career progression is probably the biggest impact here, because Gen Zs do not believe in waiting 1 year, 2 years to be promoted. They want to be promoted within 6 months. So I think a lot of people are smiling about it because I think that's our daily challenges. And I'm not trying to judge, I'm not trying to say that whether it's a very bad thing. I know we used to wait, but that doesn't mean that the new generation has to wait. But I think that's one of the main facts that the campus, showing them what is the career progression, what us as an employer are ready to do in terms of learning and development. This is what we're working at the moment.
Thank you for this, Camille. Seems quite a mouthful when you think of it. There's lots going on and adjusting and continually trying and testing. I'm afraid that, unfortunately, there's no magic wand, there's no magic formula to get it right. Gen Zs are evolving quite rapidly. The alphas coming on the market. Those of you who know alphas will know that they're also very, very, very special. So it's a question of, I think, constant evolution, more than before. If evolution before took decades to happen, just like digital transformation, the generations are emerging and disrupting, using the word disrupting in a positive way here, disrupting the marketplace. And the onus is on us, all the ones, to actually adjust and tune in. Like I said before, they are the ones who make the future of work, but let's just demonstrate some empathy here that it's not an easy job. And hopefully we will get it right someday, somewhere. All said, Eddie, now I turn to you for the solutions. The concrete solutions, not the blah blah ones that I've been doing. But how do we now adjust to this younger generation, Eddie? How do we ensure that we are adjusting and respecting whoever they are in personality and values, beliefs, yet organizational objectives are met? The bottom line, Daniel will agree, at the end of the day, it's about bottom lines. It's about being in business for profit, like it or not. So how do we get the work done, respect them all, tune into each of the generations, and call it a day once the profits are here?
You really
this?
Do you have an answer?
It's really much
You
more,
don't
so yes, quantity. Yes.
Okay.
Where do we start?
Well, you know, we can talk about communication, we can talk about adaptability, we can talk about agility and so on. But I don't want to talk about that. I want to disagree with the Gen Z.
Ah la la.
Can I do that?
By all means.
No, but it's gentle disagreement. I listened to Chishma, and you mentioned disruption. My take is that disruption has also to come from the previous generations. I think we have to disrupt a number of things to be able to integrate and to modelize that connection and that collaboration efficiently. You know, we have lived in a world, and that's, we talk about ladder, for instance, corporate ladder. We lived in the world. If you've been to business school like me, we talk about matrices. Everything is a matrix, you know? And everything is about scales. It's got to be on a scale. And everything is about, you know, vertical and horizontal. I think we need to look at the world as a space. When Victoria talked about polycrisis, I don't think there's a polycrisis. I think there is a crisis. It's called greed. You know? And in fact, you cultivate greed in those models of verticality, horizontality, and so on. And you know, if we're not careful, we'll end up in generational silos. I think it's not. You said you did that on purpose, the thing of versus, but it's happening. It's unfortunately happening. When you talk to people of my generation or those of Gen X and so on, they complain. The first reaction is to complain. Sabana. And it's because then again, I mean, Sabana means what? We are on a scale. We are on a ladder. We are in a, we are not in a space. That's what I'm trying to say. We need to be in a space. And that space is diversity. Let's embrace that. Because that's the disruption I'm talking about from my point of view. Let's disrupt that obsession about procedures, all those things that have been taught in our schools. Let's disrupt that. You were talking about Gen Z not turning up to interviews. It's a problem. We need to ask them why they don't turn up. Why is it that they don't turn up to interviews? If it's being maneuvered, there's a problem. But if it's for another reason, it's like if you put an advert in the newspaper to recruit, you'll fail. You won't get it. But if you post it on the platform, social media, you have a better chance of getting people. It's a question of reach, and it's because we probably understood somewhere that you can't reach people through newspapers and conventional media anymore. Now, on the other way, maybe there's a reason why they're not coming to interviews. Let's be smart. I talked about greed, I talked about, it's in that space. That's a space of co-creation between generations. That's what we require. That's where we will all collectively become smart. You talked about benefits and remuneration. I think we are still in the ancestry of remuneration systems. We need to disrupt that. We need to find more creative ways of remunerating people and providing benefits. Just I was talking about being entrepreneur, and we know that Gen Zs, ultimately they want to be entrepreneurs. Provide them with entrepreneurial space where we work in the workplace and remunerate them as entrepreneurs. Maybe then we could sort of come to some sort of real meaningful collaboration. That's my take. I mean, I may be wrong because Saturdays I shop. It's not mine. Today
It's a generational issue.
So I'm going to shut down on Saturday.
No, thank you for these.
From a big example.
No. I think you hopefully have planted the seed in quite a number of us in terms of changing our mindset and tuning in. I mean, when you talk about benefits, evolving the benefits, the reward system, yes, there's some work to be done on that. Not sure how it will relate. It's trial and error as we see. But yes, it's about us now tuning in. Thank you for this, Eddie. I'm just conscious of time, Ahmed. I think we've completed our 45 minutes for the tap. Any comments, anyone, in just a few seconds before I open the floor to the audience? Please, those of you with questions, get ready. The mic will be circulating. We've got beautiful hostesses here who are going to circulate the mic. All good, Danny? Yeah? Anyone need some water, some coffee, some fuel here? Yeah? Okay, so the floor is yours when you ask a question, just to ensure that, we know we are to the point and we give a fair chance. Please keep your question concise, introduce who you are and what you do, so that we can sort of understand the space you're in. And please, if you have a question for anyone in particular, feel free to shoot it to them. So by show of hands, just raise your hand. Yes, I've got a first show of hands here. Charles, yes.
Hi everyone.
Would you like to stand up?
Fine,
you want to standing up?
I'm an organizational coach. I'm really passionate about talent development, getting bright stars to lift up inside our organizations, and also creating inclusive workspaces. I think that's a really big point, and I love that Eddie touched on that too. I really enjoy what Danny said around what made intergenerational collaboration work for him and his father. It was trust. He trusted you to leverage your skills, you trusted him to know what he wanted to do best, and together with that trust, you could leverage your skills and make that work. My fellow geriatric millennial shared some behaviours that we're observing that breaks that trust. People don't turn up to interviews, and that stops people from, really opening that door of trust and being able to collaborate together. So I would like to hear from our Gen Zs. What is the behaviour that you observe, that you witness, that breaks trust for you and makes you want to disengage and step away from the workforce and create that divide?
So the question is, what makes them step away? Yeah. Do you have the mic? Could you please just pass? Oh, you have the mic there. Okay, great. Yeah, thanks. Who wants to go first?
Okay, so honestly, to us, when I say us, of course, it's Gen Z. It's sometimes the lack of adaptability when it comes to organizations. I believe that there should be an equal share. If Gen Z, we know that the previous generations have had their culture, and rightfully so. And I'm very, when I spoke to Adila first, she told me, remember you are Gen Z. Because I do have many character traits of, from my father, who must be here, that he always inculcated those, discipline and many things that I think I have inculcated. But I tend to agree to some point that it's not there in all Gen Zs, and I'm not giving me a particular doing anything right now. I'm just saying that if we decide to say yes, we decide to agree to bend our culture, our beliefs a little bit, the organization as well should not stay intact with their belief. It's important that it's a win-win situation both sides, give and give on both sides. So if we are putting us forward to understand to what your expectation is, sometimes it is you lend an ear to us as well and see what it is that we are not seeing it as the smooth going, and then so it shouldn't be that the expectation is from Gen Z itself only to do all the hard work on us, because we are living. I agree with Eddie when he says that we are living different times. The culture, the time differences is what makes us who we are today. This is what creates the division. I don't like the term division, but sadly enough, it is like this. I rather would like to call it multiplication. Very quick example. I was lately, as Adela mentioned, I'm a fintech enthusiast. So I was trying to develop some ideas around fintech. And then, for me, the process was, I knew how to develop the idea, but I have no idea about the process, how to crystallize that. And I just, someday I was talking to my father and I just wrote this and let's see what happens. And the guy goes, well, that's a piece of cake for me, it's easy for me. So think about that wealth of, synergy that exists when Gen Z would merge with the previous generations. How beautiful, how powerful. So I think we should capitalize on that rather than division. Let's make it to multiplication. How beautiful, the ripple effect, the snowball effect it will have so positively on the generations and beyond. In fact, it is now that we can change the legacy itself. And do not, only say versus. Let's put it plus. Next time, let's put it plus.
We will have next time then. Okay, great. Okay, thank you. Hope that answers your question, Charles. Yes, we have a question on the side.
Yeah, hi, my name is Sarah Maurice. I'm an entrepreneur and I have an SME. I run a factory. So I always attend HR Cafe despite my very hectic journey at the moment, because the topic always interests me. Because one, we have a lack of employment right now. When I listen to you, you guys are educated. So SME will not interest you because we don't have the culture, adaptability, we can't be flexible, we don't have what you guys provide, what you guys need, what you guys expect. So my question is that for SME, corporate works because there's a huge structure, the finance is unlimited. But I always attack SME, what happened to us? What kind of staff, what kind of employment, what kind of people we should go to? So this is my question, what would you advise small companies?
So maybe just to do a little bit of a reframe here, it's how would we attract, correct me if I'm wrong, the Gen Zs to SMEs who may not have the sort of the resources to cater for the needs of the Gen Zs. Got you? Yeah.
So actually it's a very interesting question, and I will disagree because I actually worked mostly with startup and SME. So it's been 10 years now that I work in circular economy because I've been studying and working at the same time. So it's been 10 years that I've involved in the environmental sector, and I've mostly worked either as a freelancer or with startup and SME. So I've actually never worked for a big company. It is only mostly small structure. As an entrepreneur, I do have bigger structure as my client, but I've never worked for them. And it's very interesting because you say you're in manufacturing. One of my previous missions, I was also working in textile. So I was working for 3 years in a social enterprise, and we were dealing with textile and furniture and how to renew them and give them a second life. And actually, we can have flexibility in that too. It's more complicated, but we can. So for example, a lot of seamstress we were working with, we have this flexibility.
So either they could come in our workshop and work in the workshop, because a lot of them maybe wanted to get out of the home environment, but a lot of them, we were also offering the option to work from home. And so they would come maybe every 2 weeks or something like that. We would give them we would discuss with them the pattern, we would go over the pattern and everything, but then they would be able to work from home, we would discuss with WhatsApp, we would do video call and things like that. For us, it was also a lot about inclusivity, because we were working, for example, with mothers, young mothers, that couldn't maybe afford easy childcare, so for them it was important to be able to work from home but still earn an income. So that's how, for example, in a very small structure, we were also implementing flexible working. I know it's not like a factory setting, we were a very small enterprise, but that's maybe one way to do it. Another example, so I'm a consultant right now, but I'm also behind an initiative called the Collective, and I work a lot with artisans. So the Collective is a collective of artisans. Each artisan already have their brand with their own project and everything, but then we come together to offer workshop, to offer skill share workshop. But all of that, we also actually don't really meet in person, like all the planning and everything, we do it through WhatsApp, through the net, through phone calls, and then, because I'm the one doing the coordination, twice per year, I meet with each of them individually to see really what they want and how we can help them. And it's really flexible in the sense that it's really, each of them have different wants and needs. So for example, some of them we do workshop in enterprise because they can be there in the weekdays. Some of them they can only work on weekends, so we offer them workshop on the weekends. So it's really about understanding what the people want and then really designing the business, like finding creative way and new ways to design the business to also meet everyone's needs. So I know it's not easy, but I think it's also a big opportunity and it's really fun and it's a place of innovation. But it's not easy, I agree with that.
Thank you, Victoria. Yes, so what I hear here is a lot of flexibility in the approach for SMEs to attract the younger generation. Evie, je ne sais pas si tu souhaites rebondir juste pour donner ton grain de sel. Ouais, c'est bon? She said it all, yes. Okay, we have a backbencher there with a question. Please introduce yourself.
Good morning. Millennials here, and I'm kind in the renewable energy sector. My question to Gen Z maybe. What's the percentage of Gen Z you think your voice represents? And maybe if I can categorize the rest as lazy, wanting easy things, like jobs without right capacity, and wanting high pay. That's why Gen Zs like to change jobs with clicks not satisfying the conditions I just said. Thank you.
Okay. A bit rough on the edges and disruptive, like you just said. But it's positive. Yes, so anyone wants to come.
No, I was just saying that's the perception. That's the perception. And we hear a lot about it.
And is this perception backed at times by evidence? Just throwing in.
I think Mauritians, we are very good at generalization. we are not into empirical kind of evidence or statistics. We just generalize. It's a dangerous thing to do, but it's not about, the question wasn't put to me.
Okay, thank you. But true, we shouldn't generalize. These two ladies here are concrete proof of this, that there are exceptions to the norm.
50-50, but let's go for it, because I think you raised a very good point. And this is, I think I mentioned it earlier, that instead of looking at it vertically, comparison, let's look at it horizontally. And this is exactly the point where I was saying, when you speak of Gen Z, it's not everyone put in the same bag, as you mentioned. There are different kinds of young people. Because of different cultures, different upbringing. We don't know. We can't put everyone in the same basket. Of course, Gen Z, when we say the first specification is about age, it's the only, I personally see, it's the only thing where we can say, okay, this is Gen Z, and then the association to it with internet. That's the thing which comes 100% bang on, 1995 to 2012, Gen Z, and then also the fact that we have lived in an internet generation. That's the point. Now, other than this, if we are using technology to the best of its usage, we will find the result, and that puts one part of Gen Z. And to have particularly a percentage to it, honestly, I don't think any of us have, because there has not been yet a categorization of Gen Z. I thought that my idea of viewing it horizontally would be only to a few, but now that I see it even pertinent on this space, I believe that it is worth even digging deeper, and then we can go through further research, and then devising, to be able to classify, we need to have structures. How to classify? There needs to be a particular characteristics. Let's say this time, when you say lazy, I personally do not disagree, but they have lived in the microwave generation, not because of being foodie, but because it's just at a click we have everything. We are known as the microwave generation. We are known as the wanting it all easy generation. Because very often what we see is that smart work is beating hard work. Because of, let's say I have an assignment to do, I will not ask ChatGPT to do my assignment, but I will ask it, how do you suggest I do my assignment? And I have ideas from AI, from every revolution in technology. Now, if another young person is using it to the bad essence of it, and just the way that social media is something that really clouds a lot of things. It's positive, it's negative, but very often when we hear social media and the young people, it's negative. This is where comes, these different dynamism, which is obviously open to debate. And what do you add?
Thank you, Trista. I think you've answered beautifully, and hats off to you for that. Categorization is difficult. There hasn't been research, so there you go, talking of empirical evidence and all of that. And we do need to also, I just wanted to see this, to also acknowledge that the older generations, we are the ones who've bred, who have nurtured the Gen Zs and the Gen Alphas in this room and beyond. Whether it sounds abrupt or impolite, we are the ones who've educated them at home. We are the ones who, having not had what we have today, want to give them the comfort of living. Do you agree? And we are the ones who actually have bought in a microwave at home. Yeah, so what do we expect now? Of course, those in HR, business owners, we feel the effect of it. Because this way of upbringing actually also reflects in the workplace. It could be not a generational thing after all. So I just have to bring in this reflection as a moderator. But I think it's worth thinking of as well. Yeah? Over to you, Victoria.
Thank you for that. I think I just want to add, first, as you say, I think technology is what really brings us also this generation together, that we work along with it. But technology is just a tool. It's how we use it. And then to answer, so I think as you said, it's we can either use it in a good way, or in a lazy way, or in a bad way. That's just a tool. But then to answer to your question, I sometimes wonder if there's not also disillusion avec le travail, and what, as I say, I think it's really about the questioning.
Oops. Maureen, that was you?
I think it's really questioning work and everything, so I don't really have an answer to your question, but I just ask a question in return. Is it for these people in the generation that are categorized as lazy, is it really about laziness, or is it, as I say, that it's a disillusion with what is being offered. And maybe to jump on your question, I think for me one big deal breaker is if there's no integrity. Like if a company show up and there's like no integrity, I will not work for them. Like some company approached me and it was just like blah blah. It was like, okay, this is an amazing environmental mission, but like the net impact was pretty much inexistent. It was just like all communication. So like I declined this offer because for me there's no integrity in this offer. So I think that's for me one of the deal breakers. Like, does a company has integrity in what they do? And maybe that's what can also play in the disillusion that maybe some people feel in the work market, and that makes them feel seen, lazy or uninterested.
Thank you, ladies. Any other questions? Yes, we've got 3 hands lifting. Microphone hostesses, please help me. Yeah, okay.
Everyone, I'm Shikha from
Please stand up. Yeah, you're standing, yes. My apologies. You all look like you sit there, but you're still find your high chairs. Yeah.
I'm Shikha from Korea, so I'm very pleased to be here. It's really interesting to me. So what I would like to comment on in the other question is that I work with a lot of Gen Zs in my team. Almost half of them are Gen Zs, and I don't face those challenges, but I hear my other colleagues speaking a lot about the challenges they face. What I really would like to know, and I ask myself the question often, is that I've got 2 kids, and I ask myself how they will be when they join the workforce at some point. And I ask myself the question that is the entitlement that we give as parents, and the way that we want to spoil them, we want to give them everything. And for me, it's a bit compensating for the time that we'll be able to spend with our kids. Because nowadays, both parents are working, we have very career-oriented parents, both of them. So I'm very ambitious as well. So I feel very guilty about it. I do spoil my kids a lot. So when I see the Gen Zs and the upcoming Alphas in the workplace today, I will give an example that a few of my team members, they already have.
Sorry, I will have to ask you just to be a little bit concise so that we've got a lot of questions.
Okay, so my question is the entitlement that we give to our kids today, could that be a contributor to the way Gen Zs behave and the way they are in the workplace?
Who wants to take up the question? I can see 2 very pensive legacy leaders here. Would you? Dani. Yes? On. Yes.
Yes. I think I'm good. Okay. Well, I mean, in our company, we do not have too many interactions with Gen. As I was saying earlier, 20% of our workforce is only 20% is less than 30 years old. The only experience or value I think I can add to this interesting discussion is as a parent. I've got 3 grown-up kids from 19 to 22 years old. It is true what you say, we are the one who gave them a wave. But it is our responsibility in serving to instill the values that we would like them to have. And so I think the role of the parent is very important, especially in these early years when the younger generation with a young mind which is developing, which is hungry for knowledge. It's that encadrement which is very important, and if done correctly, obviously you're setting up the kids for life with the right framework. So the responsibility of parents has also a lot to play in this discussion, I think.
Right, so conscious parenting, so knowing what we're doing at each stage of their upbringing and not necessarily being the ones giving and providing, educating them.
And if I may add, something that we do in the family and which I think applies equally in our place is the importance of feedback. For them to feel secure and courageous enough to give the feedback to us. And obviously we as parents will always feel we're entitled to give the feedback and that they should listen to us. But that two-way feedback is so important, especially in the workforce and at Mac City when we're trying to inculcate that and encourage people to give feedback. And feedback's not just from the boss to the staff, it's vice versa in two directions, but also what we call 360 feedback. Across colleagues, across different departments, they have to feel comfortable to give any feedback they feel or what they have observed to their colleagues. And certainly to have that constructive feedback that can be very helpful. It takes a lot of courage to do so, because especially the one who is criticizing, but even more important and difficult is the one receiving the criticism, is to be able to encourage us enough to take that positively and make good use out of that.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you for these words.
Sorry, I'll just quickly
Yes,
add. I mean, first question. As a millennial, I come from a family where my dad just gave me everything. When the computer came up, I was there, it was a big computer. I had just everything. Do I feel entitled? Yes, when I'm home with my husband, for him. But do I come to work with that entitlement? No. Because I know how to adapt, I know how to flex, I know how to respect people, how to have discipline. I'm not saying Gen Zs are not disciplined, but I think authority, discipline, and values are things that I'm not going to say all the generations, the previous generations, you can, but all the generations gave us, and this is something that we have to keep inculcating in the household. I don't have children, I have a niece, and when I think that she's being disrespectful, I will clearly tell her and she respects me for that. So I just wanted to add that. I could have answered Chiron when but I thought, why not now?
So Eddie wants to add something.
You know, I completely agree about the passing over values. There are universal values irrespective of your generation. I mean, they are fundamental values. I was watching a video about the handing over of Marriott International from Bill Marriott to his son David. And in that conversation, there is no mention of finance, no mention of efficiency, no mention. It was just about values from one generation to the other. And I think I would encourage you to go in YouTube somewhere and to watch that. It's about 3 minutes interview, and it's all about values. That's the legacy. That's what I want you to remember me for the values I inculcate. That's important.
Thank you. Thank you. I hear Carmona whispering here values comes from wholeness. That's what you said. Yes, so thank you, Eddie. There was another question around here. Who was, yes? Yes.
Hi. So I'm Richard. I'm a acquisition specialist and I work in meetings teams. So we know the issues that we get on a daily basis. And my question would be, unfortunately, to the Gen Z and as well as the millennial, as I am. So we know there's a big line between respect and being accessible. Okay? And being accessible. Okay? Nowadays, HR are really accessible to people. You know, online people. But there's a thin line when people try to roast us, it be either at interviews or when we're making offers. And my question would be, how can we buy your commitment? My word is very correct. I want to buy your commitment. So that's my question.
Thank you. I like the formulation, very pertinent. Yes.
First of all, I think it's really important to say that, yeah, there are some value that totally should be for everyone, like not showing up to a job interview. Of course, that's very rude and should not happen. And so, as I was saying, I think everyone is different. So it's really hard to like answer on behalf of the generation. Also because, as I was saying, I'm really on the border of millennials as well. So it's like, I'm not sure how to answer this question. But once again, I think just from a personal perspective, it's really about mission and value. Like, if I believe in the mission of a company, in the job, I will do the job. Like, I will work more than what is expected of me because I will get it done. If I don't believe in your mission, you can pay me everything you want, it won't interest me. So that's like just from my perspective, it's really about mission and value, like believing in the work, as you say, like meaningful work. And then we will work harder than anyone else. If you don't believe in it, sadly, I'm not sure there's much that can be done. So that's just from my personal perspective.
You see, it's exactly just the economics, demand meets supply and vice versa. If, as you rightly mentioned, if we see that it interests us, why would we not come to you? Definitely say yes. So there's no point, I don't know, it's very beautifully framed as you do it, but it's not only about buying the commitment, I believe that if, as she says, if we want to do it, we will be committed to death, to the job. It's just as simple as this. But Gen Z comes with values for different things. Victoria's there, climate change, we have so many other things, gender equality, SDGs, and today, sadly enough, we witness many companies doing it for namesake, because you have to be SDG sustainable. So just to bring it to your terms, we just put it there. But what Gen Z does, like many of my peers, at European Union as well, what we do is we really dig into deep research and make sure that what we are going to do is really something meaningful, and you're not just doing it for namesake. You're doing it because it is really at the core of your mission and vision of your company. So that's a little bit about meaningful and then committed workforce of the emerging generation.
I always wanted to be a moderator, so I'm just stepping in the shoes of Adina until she comes back. So, are there any more questions? I saw a few hands. Yes. Okay, so of course, I'll let you also question. Be nice to them.
So, my name is Sue. I'm a millennial. I believe in the Charles Darwin theory of evolution. I see human being full of emotions, and generation or not, we're full of emotions. Technology is the evolution of life. My challenge is, I've worked with different generations, and Generation Z, you are the less resilient generation. Because you're always, I am myself raising an alpha generation, so the emotion is missing and we can't handle it. And we face this every day at work. How can you help us to make you more resilient, or how can we assist you in becoming more resilient?
J'entends un cri de cœur là.
Actually, what I mean. Resilience. Can you elaborate on that? Because I'm very confused by what you just said. Because I look at my peer, at least here in the environmental sector, and I see very resilient people because they have been working years after years at something they believe in. They don't see results, and they still keep going because they believe in what they are doing. And that comes with all the emotion that comes with like facing, when I read reports, it's like reading about environmental destruction day after day. And that comes with a lot of weight and a lot of emotion.
And when you work in the environmental sector, you don't see results right now. It's like a marathon. It's on the long term. And I see people my age, like having worked years after years and not giving up. And for me, that's emotional resilience.
Okay. It's mostly to do with the 50-50% of the laziness and the dynamic Gen Z. So we have both, the laziness and the enthusiastic, dynamic Gen Z at work. So the less resilient, for example, somebody will come and tell me, I'm not feeling safe at work, I'm going to work from home. And I'm like, how can you not feel safe at work? So help me understand where this mindset is coming from and how can we assist you in having a better, inclusive culture.
It's actually, as you say it right, everyone is, Oprah Winfrey said, we are spiritual and emotional being with a human experience. And the fact that different people, it's not only about generation, but with our generation, it's more of a challenge. I agree with you on this point. What I believe is understanding is important. There will be one thing of that particular, let's put it Tom, let's put Tom as an example, and we look at him. Let's say you see there is a lack of emotion, on the general perspective. Let's look at it even on a deeper level. There will be something in his life, in his day-to-day routine, that he will be the most emotional about, that he will be, a little more giving, a little more, supportive of, and take it from there. It will be, this is a case-to-case basis. We can't, as we said earlier, we can't put everyone in the same basket. But to be able to tackle with this particular challenge, I believe that we have to look at it on a case-to-case basis, and also look at Tom's, what is that thing that really intrigues him into, going forward, going to work, for instance. What is it that will drive him? Try to have a conversation, because if you don't, converse with the person, even if you have to go on a deeper and I may say on a more harsh and crisp level of it, I don't mean, the bad way, but let's say the parent way or any other, elder way, get to understand that person first. When you can understand the person, you can tackle, I believe that we can look at this from instead of top-bottom approach, bottom-up approach. Like, let's look at him at the very, very basics of everything. What is wrong? Tell me what is wrong. What is not working for you, right? And once you get into that problem, you will be better able to provide a solution. Because if we are unclear about the problem itself, we will not be able to bring resilience out of anyone else. Because human beings, we are driven by something. It is not the same thing for everyone. Everyone, different passion, different purpose in life. But one thing will drive him, and it is for you to go to get to that one thing, which is a big challenge, I would say. We are not we are social creatures, as it's written everywhere. But we need to get it to the very bottom and then work it upwards.
Thank you, Jessa. Just before passing on the mic, I know Eddie wants to also say a few words. Maybe this is when I'm seeing it out here. Eddie, Charles, you two are coaches. Maybe this is why the importance of coaching and mentoring at work becomes relevant. We shouldn't also downplay, we said we are in different types of crisis at the moment in the world. We live in a VUCA world, like you say, where everything is so fast-paced, volatile, etc. And people need grounding, not just Gen Zs, all of us. And this is where, I'm not doing your marketing, guys, but this is where the role of coaches, life coaches, professional coaches, mentors become important. We all at some point in our life have a mentor who guided us somewhere, isn't it? So yeah, that was just my 2 cents. Yes?
I just want to play devil's advocate for a moment here, because now I understand better where you come from. Is it really that this generation is less resilient, or are they clearer on their boundaries, on being like, that's what I need, that's how I feel that I can thrive the best, so I'm going to voice it out? I don't know, I'm just throwing it out there, because in my opinion, if Like we are all different, and if a person can do the same job just as well in an environment that they feel better, why should it not happen?
It's not about job, it's about emotional maturity.
I think we've understood your point. I'm very conscious of time, so maybe, you want to just wrap it up?
What we want is the focus should not be on Gen Z. We are caught in a vicious cycle. So if we say less resilient, then you disagree with me. Let's say, for example, I said the example of the person who said, I'm not feeling safe. And I said, no, because we work in an organization, this is what we want. We cannot customize everything on a case-to-case basis for everyone. We work for an organization at the end of the day. We're here to make sure that everybody is getting something, but yet within boundaries. So that is the aim. How can you, the understanding of, I need to fit in that picture. It's not me as the focus. This is not going to
Thank you. I mean, I hear you with all my compassionate heart. I really do. And I often have maybe similar questions. I will invite you maybe later on to have another discussion. And I'm just feeling, does this call for another HR cafe around this theme to unpack it all? Because in a session, I think it's quite challenging. But I think maybe you wanted to add
just
words.
a very quick one. In fact, Sue stole it off of my comment about the one-to-one customization. Yes, the reaction would be, we have to treat it as, a one-to-one kind of, on a case-to-case kind of basis. But at the same time, what is resilient is the perception. And that throws the ball on your side. So you have to manage it. The only way you get out of this and get into that space of co-creation I was talking about is to manage that perception intelligently. That's a piece of advice. It's free from a coach.
There you go, we did see your marketing. Okay, there was a question. We only have 10 minutes left. Ahmed is showing me 5 minutes actually. So I'll be generous, I'll ask for 2 last questions. There's a gentleman on this. Oh, there's Karina here before that apparently, so let's just give. Yeah? There was one person. No. Okay, so she's 3 last questions, but that's it. I'm sorry, so we'll turn to you, Karina, and then Jennifer.
Sorry, I'll just be quick. So we've been sitting in a few interviews lately, recently, this week actually, and the salary expectations that we see from the Gen Zs are very, it's very out there. They know their worth and they value themselves. And I just want to know, as the question is to the legacy leaders, obviously, how are we bridging and balancing respect to people who've been here, who have experience, and how are we managing the performance management systems in terms of rewards and recognition to the older generation and the newer generation in terms of salary? Because at the end of the day, when we sit there and we meet someone from a Gen Z has the same level of expectation as someone who's been in the industry for 10 years, we tend to recruit someone with the experience of this. So how are legacy leaders advising that we value experience while also valuing Gen Z?
Okay, Camille wants to put in a few words. I think Danny as well wants to announce that.
I think she just mentions what my daily struggle is at the moment. Trying to meet expectations of Gen Zs coming to interviews and expecting very high. The Chicago talent acquisition has the same issue, and being able to tell her, no, we won't be able to take that person on because there's someone else from an older generation who's been here for 10 years who's earning pretty less. So how do we bridge that gap in salary? I mean, I can tell you it's very tough. The only thing that we've been able to do as a temporary measure, we don't have the full answer yet, is career progression. So pushing that other person who's been here for a while, pushing out another position, but I'm not sure what the rest of the HR leaders are currently doing, so I'd be more than happy to hear that, because that's a real challenge and I'm glad we pulled it out.
Thank you. Yes, over to you, Danny.
Okay, from what you're saying is there might be a problem because existing employees might be frustrated with new Gen Zs coming in and be able to contribute a lot from day one. I mean, from a CEO perspective, obviously, we put a lot of emphasis on the contribution of each member of the team. I'm not sure if I'm going to say something controversial, but it's not about seniority. It's all about competence and what you're contributing to the team. You might have somebody who's younger and more somebody who's older. If he's taking more, he or she's taking more responsibilities and delivering the value out that the company is looking for, to me, so be. And on the contrary, I mean, the company can also, a person who is less experienced, but maybe help him, assist him with his journey to increase his value add and give to the company, and this comes to the coaching, what he says as well. So maybe as leader, we tend to look at it more from a contribution perspective, but having said that, also assisting everyone, whether it's Gen Z or not Gen Z, to also try and contribute as much as we can as well. So I would tend to look at it from that angle.
Yeah, from a competency angle and how they can contribute to the market, and therefore this, I suppose, means that the remuneration pay band, the grids that we normally do, maybe needs to evolve. Eddie, under your guidance, maybe you can tell us whether that's feasible, disrupting the remuneration that comes at different pay bands as well. Yeah, could be?
Yeah, I think it can. It takes, again, how smart you are to remain connected with the demand and the expectations from the outside. Absolutely. I think we're complaining about brain drain. We're complaining about people. I have one of my clients, a group of hotels, saying, my people are going on cruise ships and so on, so and more money there and so on. I said, but it's not always about remuneration. We talked about career, for instance. We haven't had time, but we talk very little about career generations. We have very little career conversations. We don't have career strategies. And we still imagine career as a vertical thing. So maybe we should question some of these models that are resilient.
Of course, for reflection, doesn't it? We had a question on this side. Yes, Karuna. Hello, good Toastmaster. Please, can you concise question?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Karuna Puri. I'm an entrepreneur and a Toastmaster as well, Vice President membership. I don't have a question, but I have maybe a suggestion or a plea for our youngsters, because I work with youngsters, I'm a mentor for them. I have seen human resource. When we speak about human resource, we speak about emotional intelligence, emotional human skills. We are having a big problem in Toastmasters. I'm not marketing this platform, and I see the struggle of my son as an HR intern, that us leaders, we are not listening to our youngsters enough. I agree with Mr. Dani saying that constructive feedback, two-way communication. How do you want a youngster to communicate to you effectively if they do not work on their communication skills and their leadership skills? This is what we want, and this is what we want. Career, yes. We do not have a hub here who can really advise our youngsters. I am not against any leaders because I'm also a leader, but I work with youngsters and I hear them. And I hear my son every day getting more frustrated because his ex-director is not giving him 1 hour out of his job to go for his Toastmasters sessions. And this boy has grown up so much that he's so confident that he can take a mic and speak for his presentation in front of 200 people. So this is my plea to all of us leaders here. Please give your youngsters, your young executives coming. We are having a tough time going to universities, young corporates. We are doing that job right now with a few colleagues, and they all look at us saying we did not know about Toastmasters because we don't do much advertising on that. And for youngsters also, please don't look for timid-minded girls going for short courses and then you put your certificate in a drawer. Here we are talking about lifelong learning. We are building you up to become the next leader because we are leaving our legacy. We are off. We are going to go 6 feet down the soil. It's up to you to manage Mauritius. Thank you.
Thank you, Karamana, for this cri du cœur. Over and out, I suppose. I promised the gentleman at the back we would get his question now soon. Still valid? Yes?
Thank you very much. I think we have a very good insight and valuable information that are being discussed here. And I will say, fortunately or unfortunately, I work with a team of Gen Z. And I have experienced many things with them. And that will be the next part, will be the full workforce inclusions. And we will have to deal with all these issues that are being raised. But one question which until today I have been unable to solve, and it's about the overconfidence of the Gen Z. And the feeling that they show that there's overconfidence of doing things, but when the outcome will come, you say, at the time when you reach the outcome, they have failed miserably, and they don't even tell you that they failed miserably. And you find yourself with a negative outcome, and you have to deal with it. So, I just want to answer the question. Gen Z among us, why so overconfidence?
I think that's not maybe it's not a fair question to the Gen Zs, maybe more to our legacy leaders on how to actually support and provide a framework for expansion for these Gen Zs.
I think we should pick that up. I mean, I think that perception of overconfidence is because the previous generations we probably didn't have that in place. Because now if you go on social media, whether it's on LinkedIn, whether it's on TikTok, Instagram, the first thing I read most of the times is know your worth. Know your worth, know your worth. And this is something that Gen Zs have been hearing since they were born. You know, their worth, and to make sure that their worth are being respected. So how can we now say to those Gen Zs, like, why are you being overconfident? However, trying to be devil's advocate. However, there is a fine line between what's being taught, what's being shown on social media, and self-awareness. So we have to have self-awareness and ensure that we're not overpowering others with our overconfidence when we don't have the skill set to be able to get there in the job. We have to respect our colleagues who've been here for a longer period. I hope I've managed to answer that for the Gen Z.
Yes, I see Eddie and Danny wanting to bounce back as well. Yeah, Alice.
No, I think this is a leadership thing to manage. I would tend to send them to me. No, I employ them.
Okay.
That's the thing. I think we've been too long into that underconfidence kind of behavior. And now, if your perception is that they are overconfident, we failed in managing underconfidence. Now, let's give it another chance in terms of your leadership tech. You will be able to do it. If people are bubbling with confidence, that's good news. That's good news. Let them come. And you, as leader, you have to manage that and channel it towards performance. I think that's your job.
And if you can add, since always, big innovations came from self-confident people. Always.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes, Danny.
I feel sorry for these two ladies. And all the questions being directed to them. It's as if the Gen Z is a problem child. Which of course I'm sure it's not. To the point about overconfidence and in fact what I was going to say is that I would rather have having to deal with somebody overconfident than having to deal with somebody with no confidence. It's much easier to manage. I was after listening to Justin and Victoria. For me, it was very nice to hear about the energy, and you speak with so much energy, dynamic, want to change the world, change makers, I think that's the word you say. I would love to have this dynamic energy in my team. In fact, we have now HR manager here. We need more of this energy and dynamism in the company. And of course, we listen about the issues that may arise with Gen Z. As I say, I would rather have to deal with that kind of challenge than having somebody who is low energy, as Donald Trump would say, or no ambition, or no drive. So also talk about passion. I mean, it's passionate in what you do. I think these are great qualities to have.
Thank you, Dani. I think you said that very beautifully. And I'm sorry, it seems like the onus is on us, the older generations, once again, to bring the balance in. Well, we're up to it, isn't it? Only the seasoned people who know the ropes, isn't it? Okay, so before we end, I'd just like to do a very quick round of each of the panelists just to, in one sentence, okay, just one sentence. This could be a challenge. To share a gem of wisdom with the audience today in how you think we need to bridge whatever gap there is between generations. Is it 6 generations, 2 generations or more? But in one sentence, what is the number one thing maybe, or what is the wisdom that you'd like to share? We can give you a few seconds, and whoever wants to go first, going in this way would be nice, or through Danny.
Okay, I can go first because I've just overrun my Saturday morning.
Okay, have you woken up or are you going to sleep?
I have 2 cups of coffee. Okay. Anyway, if you want one sentence, I mean, I have difficulty giving advice. I would say, if you have a choice of choosing docility versus initiative, go for initiative.
Thank you. Danny, yes? Note our legacy leaders apart from that. Point of information.
Well, I think whatever listening from today's conversation, but of different point of views, and it's all about understanding each other. That goes a long way in helping to resolve the situation, as in most issues in life, actually.
Thank you.
So I think my one takeaway today that I will put across here is, as leaders, I think we have to always put humility on top, because whatever used to work before clearly is not working anymore. So humility and making sure that we hear feedback from whichever generation, but giving them their say is very important as well.
They're very collaborative, I
So I think I have only 8 words. I would say pour it is in giving that we receive, and that's it. It's quite simple stuff.
All is in giving that we receive.
It is in giving that we receive.
It's all about collaboration, really understanding like each person, not like each generation, but each person's strength and how we fit the best in the company and in the project, and putting them where their strengths are the best. So it's really about a design problem. Like I do a lot of design thinking. It's like where is the best place for each person, and that works.
Thank you, Victoria. Just to add, let's humanize the workforce once again. Thank you. I'd like to invite the CEO of our group, Nadim Zafir, to just bring in the concluding remarks for us, and then we will move on to thanks. Thank you. Yes, you do.
She's also my wife. Thank you, panelists. Sorry for you girls. Don't go by my gradient on your side. Just to say that this is the second time we're sharing a physical space with you, Mr. Eddie. The first time there was an HR award ceremony, there were 12 awards on the table, you took 9 of them. So that's how I respect you. But just to say that, taking from you, you mentioned Socrates from the very beginning of the intervention. I would say that even goes beyond that. Irrespective of religion or dogma or whatever, or truth, we know the first human beings to accept are Adam and Eve. They were perfect human beings. Problems started with their sons killing each other. So the generation gap is there from the very perfect human beings to the second generation committing the most horrendous crime. That's a gap. And if we're talking, I think you referred to 6 generations working together in Mauritius right now. This is not the first time in history, because the Mahabharata involves 6 generations in one civil war. So the lesson is what we're trying to understand here. If I recall our generation, the one leading at one particular point in time, thinking they are governing their decision makers, let's call that generation A. The mistake, what I think is that generation A always think they are better than generation A-1, A-2, A+1, A+2. So now what the exercise we're doing today is trying to say that we need to understand as if we've already assumed we can understand. The same generation gap has been happening with my grandfather, with my dad, with me. I won't talk about my kids because they are in the room. How did my grandfather build the bridge between him and my dad? It was just this, a stair. And the bridge is built. You understand everything in every single language. You know what the guy wants. We can't accept that. We can do the same thing to you. That said, let's not try to solve every problem, because our generation is not that so glorious. We've done the World War I, World War II, Twin Towers. We've created Bin Laden. We've done whatever. We've created the mess in Palestine. So there's nothing to be glorious about. But there's one thing we can only do. Not try to understand you, but trust you. The world won't be a worse place with you. That I know. You're sensible guys, you're talking about the environment. My granddad was a gardener. but he was not worried about the environment. That was his job. But you doing that, it's not your job. You worried for that. So I'm happy for you. Gen Z, I trust you, and that's the only thing our generation has to do. Not try to understand you, but trust that you will carry on, you will do a better thing, the world will be better with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Natalie, for always bringing your disruptive concluding remarks. I must say today it was pretty much okay. Yeah, it could be worse. Thank you. So all good things have to come to an end. I hope you enjoyed this session very much. For me, it's been mind-blowing. And I'd like to say thank you to a few groups of people who made this possible. I'd like to start with our photography partner, Focus Photography. She's sitting here, the lady behind Focus Photography, who brings in the media element to HR Cafe since day one as well. So thank you very much, Sina, for your support and to your professional team. I'd also like to once again thank Nespresso Luigi, our George Clooney of Mauritius, who seems great. We are not trying the set one. Is that how you call it? Yeah, he's got it. So I'll be inviting you to take the floor in a few minutes. But I'd also like to give a warm thanks to the Max City Group, Danny. You spearheading the group, but also the fantastic ladies and gentlemen we've worked with over the past few weeks. I know it hasn't been easy, but the passion and the belief in HR Cafe has made it work. So thank you to Jennifer, Colleen Robert. Colleen, some of you were there last time at Level 6, you would have seen her. She actually came on a spying mission to see what HR Cafe was all about, and because she wanted to bring us to Max City. So thank you so much for being la personne qui a tout permis. I'm very grateful to you. I'd also like to thank my fabulous Talent Lab team and Gibson and Hills team who cope with me and my whims around the perfection that HR Cafe has to be. It's a bunch of Gen Zs, I must say.